Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I can't believe it's been 12 whole years since Five Nights at Freddy's came out. It's incredible. Five Nights at Freddy's is... I'm not doing this. Winifred Fazburger is the grandfather of Goo Goo Baby Game. People have played it a lot. Some like it, some don't. Most of its fan base are children. I was once a child. I am now old. I used to love FNAF fan games. I don't anymore. They all play the same. It's not my place to say anything, but it feels like the landscape surrounding this genre has changed for the worse. I've seen this with Friday Night Funkin' mods, and I see it now. What was once a way for people to express themselves has become a cesspit where everyone tries to one-up each other to see who can make the best mechanically polished sludge. It's not a contest of style, it's a fight for sterilization. It may be technically better, but it's not for me. I miss the old games that weren't the best by any means, but had soul. I suppose it could be my own nostalgia, but that doesn't make me miss it any less. I came into this franchise rather late. My first exposure was the FNAF 4 Dream Theory video by Game Theory. A part of me still believes this was the original plot for the first 4 games, and I'm not open to discussion. The same goes for fan games. I never played any of the big ticket titles. Never touched candies. I fucking despise Pop Goes. It just wasn't my thing. Why play something everyone else has already dissected? My first fan game was rather odd. It was a game people don't like to talk about, and when they do, it's for the wrong reasons. Have you ever played a game whose reputation is all anyone really cares about? A game that has wonderful ideas, a game you hold close to your heart, a game people don't care about, outside of the occasional snide remark, a game you want to defend, but can't, because no matter what you have to say, people already have their own narrative in mind. A game you played 8 years ago. A game you can't stop thinking about since that first exposure. A game you've wanted to talk about since you were a kid. A game you have the platform to defend. This is a video about Dormitabis. Dormitabis, like every video game, opens at the title screen. It sets the scene rather well. It tells you everything you need to know before you begin playing. The art direction, the glimpses of future animatronics, and the music. It's a rather somber tone that lets you know the type of vibe the rest of the game will have. Unfortunately, it's not an original piece. It's a Kevin MacLeod song. That does ruin the magic if you know, but honestly, I can look past it. This is a free game. It's fine that the score is not entirely original. Frick Bears 3 has an OST that consists of almost entirely pre-existing songs and no one seems to care. I think it's fine to make an exception. It's not original, but it does work for the tone. The main menu takes place on a piece of equipment you will be intimately familiar with soon enough. The gameplay loop is centered around your monitor, so the game shows it to you as the first visual you will ever see. Before you begun playing, you can already tell that this is a game with a dark tone, a unique, almost dreamlike art style, and what your main form of defense will be before you have to use it. And I think it's extremely well done. On this menu is an extremely important tool, that being the tutorial. Dormitabis features a help system that you can read before every night, used to introduce new characters and the mechanics that come with their arrival. I both love and hate this. I do appreciate that the game tells you how it works. I come to a FNAF game for the gameplay, rather than trial and error. I personally believe a jump scare is a punishment, not a gameplay feature. There's a reason why the newer FNAF games have turned them into death animations. It's a losing condition. Losing the game should not be a key aspect of your game. However, the way Dormitabis does it is incredibly lazy. It's just bubbles of text. There's no diegetic reason as to why it exists. It's just a way to communicate information in the most boring way possible. It's the post-shift 2 effect of something necessary being done in a terrible way. On that topic, Dormitabis is written poorly, but I still want to engage with it. Minus the thing with the guy. The rest of it isn't that bad. The dialogue is just a bit shit. So, for the sake of this game's story, I will do my best to make it palatable for someone with more media literacy than a 13-year-old that exclusively listens to Set It Off. Dormitabis follows the story of John Wright, the stand-in for Michael Afton. After burning down Fazbear's Fright, he found himself in a rather strange environment. It was similar, but not identical. He was in another office. Things were strewn across with no rhyme or reason. It looked hobbled together, as if made in a panic. Made to work, but not made to gawk at. Suddenly, a phone began to ring. The man on the other end was Peter Wright, John's brother, killed before John ever got the chance to know him. Peter's goal was to free the residents of this realm, but more importantly, to protect John. He's the reason John even knows what this place is. It's a purgatory, molded from the remains of Fredbear's family diner. The emotions left from the many tragedies at that location formed a realm said victims remain in until the end of time. It doesn't resemble any Freddy's location, because it's not. On the subject of those victims, you're not alone. Creatures roam the halls of this realm, a cluster of parts designed to resemble the mascot characters they were once stuffed into. These are the Havocs. They function on a daily cycle. They wake up at 11 and deactivate at 7. And during that time, they're looking for you. You have something they want. You have plasma, the building blocks for these monstrosities. If they get it, you will die. You're stuck here not out of a need for a paycheck, but to keep your life intact long enough to find a way out. Ooh, spicy meatball. Dormitabis takes place in a very strange office. In the middle of the room is a large table, a chair at one side and the monitor at the other. You can look to your left and to your right. Pressing W makes you run under it to the other side of the room. At that end is the camera system. You can look to your left and right here as well, but you also have access to the ceiling and the window behind you. As you could probably guess, this is where the animatronics will show up. Pressing Control turns on the monitor. Instead of it being a separate layout that covers the whole screen, the cameras are diegetic, existing solely on this small monitor. You have to close the interface to see what's behind the menu. The cameras make sense given the environment. I like having to close them or reset where the menu is. It makes the environment feel hostile, as if your one-tool defense is actively working against you. The building design itself follows that same philosophy of passive hostility. The map functions, but it doesn't feel like it should. The hallways are placed together randomly, rather than built with a structure in mind, and I would like to believe that that was intentional. A common complaint against Dormitabis is that it's fine at Freddy's, but every animatronic is Mangle. While technically true, it's a heavy exaggeration. All the animatronics follow the same basic structure because the characters are designed to be a weird mess of parts. They don't look like real animatronics because that's the entire point of their character. The design process of them in this game is if the puppet tried to do the same things they did in the actual FNAF series, giving life to the condemned souls, but did not have the necessary materials to do it. The Havocs are failed experiments to create life. The puppet used what they had access to, which led to the creatures looking the way they do. To go off on the animatronics, the sound design is wonderful. Certain animatronics make a specific noise while others move silently. It especially works well the first time you are introduced to the gameplay loop. Havoc Freddy is very easy to deal with, but the game gives him this air of mystique through the sound design. The loud noises that are almost musical in nature, playing as he slowly makes his way towards your office. Followed by a door creaking. You look to your left. He's staring back at you. You run. An incomprehensible noise is heard in your right ear. You're safe for now. Every character has a sound that plays when you have to deal with them, but until that plays, you're stuck listening to noise that directly spells your impending doom. It gives you this constant feeling of dread as you wait for the moment you need to defend yourself. The game looks disgusting. Some people treat this as a negative, but honestly, I really like it. It's gross, but it's meant to gross you out. The way it's textured gives the game an almost claymation-like feel to it. It all looks off, but in a good way. Some aspects of it don't work as well as they should, though. There's a weird orange blob in one of the cameras that's meant to be blood. Until it was pointed out to me, I always thought it was like a torn-up carpet, but despite that, the style as a whole is extremely well done. It obviously doesn't look like something Scott Cawthon would make, but that doesn't really matter. The game wasn't designed to look like the work of Scott Cawthon. Not all fan games need to look identical to the source material. Nothing in the fanverse looks like Scott's work. Like every project, the art direction in Dormitabis is uniquely its own. With that in mind, everything put together makes this game feel like a fever dream, as if you are engaging with something your body physically cannot perceive. It's gross and off-putting, because it was designed to make you feel repulsed. Contrary to popular belief, but I actually really enjoy the gameplay loop. Something specific that I've seen people make fun of is the way the player runs under the table. It's outlandish, sure, but I believe it makes sense in context of the game. This is a hostile place with creatures that want you dead. You need to avoid being exposed at all costs to mitigate how vulnerable you may appear. So instead of running around the table, risking something spotting you, you sprint under the desk, avoiding as much contact as possible. Sure, it doesn't make sense why you're able to run that fast underneath a desk, but you do need to suspend your disbelief for just a bit. You're in a grotesque world that makes no sense. If you're looking for realism, this is the least of your concern. If or when you get jump scared. The game plays an ominous noise, complete with a cut to black, before showing you your fate. This same sound plays at the end of every night. Some people have an issue with this, as it makes the jump scare not an actual jump scare. But I've already talked about it before. When it comes to FNAF games, a jump scare is a death animation, not a core aspect of the gameplay. And I like the way Dormitabis handles it. If you're towards the end of a night, it almost works the same as a power outage in FNAF 1. You don't know if the sound is your death or a win. The noise itself could be classified as a jump scare, but that gets us into semantics and I don't think it matters much. I like the way the game does the jump scares because it still works as a death screen. Dormitabis is long, but it features a cast that works for its length. The game takes place in the form of 12 nights. Beating Dormitabis is a commitment. If you want to play this game, you have to devote time to it. You can't pick it up, beat it in 20 minutes, then move on. You have to engage with it on its own terms. But if I'm being honest, I don't think it's that big of a deal. The length of the game exists to show off every character, along with helping you manage difficulty. Slowly, over the course of the nights, you are introduced to new mechanics. You deal with a character that teaches you how to avoid the animatronics, and you deal with another one that makes you look at them after doing what you learned the night before. Then a character makes you actively use the cameras. Then another shows up behind you, and another makes you stare at the ceiling, and another makes you solve a clue puzzle. More and more is introduced, so by the end of the game when everything is attacking you at once, you built up enough skill to perform against whatever wants you dead. As the game introduces more, it progressively gets harder. If Dormitabis was a normal 6-night game, I believe it would be miserable. There would be too much introduced at once. The argument could be made that the game could just have less content, but to each their own. I enjoy it for what it is. There is a major issue with this game that I have to address. Dormitabis is buggy. Towards the end of the game, it tends to crash very often, especially during the max mode. From what I've experienced, it happens the same way every time. While dealing with an enemy, they will vanish during their animation, and the next time they show up, the game will freeze, and then crash. People still don't know what causes this to happen, but I believe I know. During development, it was meant to be a point-and-click free roam type of game. This version of the game was cancelled due to two main reasons. One, the joy of creation came out, causing free roam FNAF games as a concept to get oversaturated. The other issue was development itself. Click Team at the time could not handle the game. RAM issues were prevalent, leading to it being a broken, buggy mess. The scope of the project had to change due to the game functionally being unplayable. This led to the Dormitabis as we know today. From what I can gather, the bugs stem from that same RAM issue. Things like crashing and assets not loading in seem to only happen after multiple events have already occurred. If you do too much, the game tries to handle more than it can, leading to game-breaking bugs. The game is broken because it's so unoptimized, Click Team physically cannot run it. The cast of Dormitabis is big. Very, very big. But despite that, they all work well together. There's 10 animatronics, 9 of which take up the base game, and 2 that serve as one whole gimmick. So, in practice, the main game has 8 animatronics to deal with. 3 of them are dealt with by running to the other side of the room, 3 are dealt with by staring at them when they appear, and 2 are entirely unique, which actually means that Dormitabis only has 4 different mechanics. When you unpack the game's formula, it's not as much as you would expect. People like to reiterate time and again that Dormitabis is a bloated mess with too much going on, but in reality, it's just as complex as a typical fan game. Oblitus Casa has 7 entities and 4 different mechanics. Finance and Candies 3 has 3 animatronics and 3 different mechanics. The Joy of Creation, The Glitch Attraction, Frick Bears 3, Banshee, Showman's The Awakening, Post Shift 2, One-Handed Flumpties 3, Tyken Sun's Lumberco, Baby's Nightmare Circus, I could go on. FNAF fan games in general tend to have multiple mechanics that all work separately from one another, yet these games are almost universally praised. Except for Post Shift 2, but that's just because FNAF fans aren't known to have media literacy, or the capacity to understand the meaning of words, so every mechanic in Dormitabis works to benefit another part of the game. The main focus is the monitor, but while keeping track of the cast, as soon as you hear any sound in your office, you have to stop what you're doing and deal with it accordingly, before scrambling back to where you left off, hoping that whatever you have to deal with didn't take that downtime to ruin your night. I adore the cast because they function like animals that run off instinct. They may have pre-designed mechanics, but they seem unpredictable. You don't know what they're thinking if they're thinking at all. In the actual games, you can get a brief idea of what they're thinking because they're just actual animatronics possessed by ghosts. But in Dormitabis, this thought process does not help you because you don't know what they're meant to be, what they're supposed to act like, what they should be. They are creatures living in a world that does not physically exist. They function by their own logic, and that logic is lost on you. It makes your mind wander as you try to understand a creature's motivations with no basis for how it should act. I'm being very pretentious, but I like this game, so fuck off. Every Havoc in the game follows a basic structure, but each one is just slightly different. It uses what you already learnt and changes it around just enough to make it feel fresh. You never feel overwhelmed because despite the cast of characters, in practice their numbers feel smaller than they are. The knights feel more like a string of commands that you have to perform than it does Frederick Fuckbear. If you act in one specific way, a way that's been taught to you before, the outcome will end with you on top. For the main 9 nights of the game, this is how your time will go. We have to talk about the elephant in the room. If you're aware of this game at all, you don't know Dormitabis for the game itself. You know what this game is because of the antagonist. Garvey Wright is a terribly written character, one the game centers around because of his position as this game's William Afton. I don't think he is a good villain, not because what he does doesn't make him evil, but because of the quality of his writing. Objectively, he is a disgusting person, but instead of making his actions make sense, he just does them because the plot demands it. Garvey's position in this game is a direct byproduct of how long Dormitabis was in development. Dormitabis as an idea was first started in late 2015. At this time, the main developer of the game was an early teen, around 14 to 15. To my knowledge, the story of this game has been relatively the same since the idea was first created. Dormitabis as it exists today, released in 2018, still using that original story. This is a game published by an 18-year-old, using a story from the mind of a 15-year-old. This is not meant to be a defense for Garvey. His writing is terrible for reasons we will soon go over, but it is a defense for why he was written the way he was. This is a character created by a young adolescent. He's comically evil and does what he does with little to no motivation, because that's what a teen thinks is cool. This came from the mind of an edgy teenager, but this idea has been lost on people because of what came after. Before the release of the game, there were 2 short teasers made to elaborate on the plot. All the information can be found in the actual game in some shape or form, but these teasers add a bit of needed context and help solidify specific aspects of the story. The first of these games is They Made Him Go Insane, made on January 24th, 2016. It's a very short cutscene. A sprite of the purple guy, or as we now know, Garvey, is being laughed at by a small group of kids for having purple skin. They quote, "Made him crazy, and now he'll kill them. One by one. First his friends, then him." The second game is called The Purple Truth, made around March 6, 2016. It's very simple. A sprite of the crying child sits front and center. Underneath, a 4-number code can be typed in. Specific combinations give unique phrases. 1987.
Yeah, that year was bad for everyone.
1993.
1993. Sigh. The creation of Golden Call.
1983.
John made Garvey crazy, and Maria paid.
1982.
Kill me.
1985.
1985, where their bodies are from.
This game gives the basis for the victims in Dormitabis, how many were killed, and when they were killed. The story of Dormitabis is told through various tapes scattered around the map. Every night, a new one can be found on a different camera, flickering in and out of view. Each tape tells you more of Garvey's backstory, what he did, why he did it, and what led him to the position he's in. I will play those tapes now.
It's a shame. Such a shame. I didn't really want to do this. I didn't want to start doing this again. But they just won't shut up about it. It's not my fault. I can't control my physical mutations. It's not like anyone ever cared for the truth. All they ever wanted was to harm me. But this will be the end. And not without consequences. I'm going to be recording the most important parts of my plans here. As a reminder for myself.
This adds to what the first teaser game already showed. He has a genetic condition that causes his skin to be a shade of purple. Garvey was laughed and made fun of for his complexion, humiliated by his younger brother John and his friends. This led to him wanting to, in his own way, take revenge. He'll make them stop for good.
It was easy. Just so easy. All I had to do was surprise him. He couldn't even fight back. I dragged him into my purple car and brought him to my basement. He bled out real quick. The human body's hilarious. So fucking pathetic. I dumped him in the dumpster behind the cake bears. All his friends don't even know yet that they will suffer the same fate.
On March 18th, 1992, Garvey took the life of his first victim, a child that was locked at a Cake Bears, the first pizzeria. He was kidnapped, dragged into Garvey's purple car, and brought to his basement, where he drew his last breath, before being dumped where he was last seen. This child went on to become the puppet.
My God! This is most certainly beginning to be fun. There's this hot 15-year-old that was part of the kids' friends group. You know, it was fun. She screamed, but nobody heard her. It was so much fun. She's in one of the suits now. Just a little more time until Fredbear's is going down as well. But hey, I'll find my ways to catch her the others.
This is why I had to talk about the developer, and why Dormitabis is written the way it is. If you thought Blackout, as they're known nowadays, was the one behind this story, rather than the edgy teen with big ambitions, this seems even more disgusting than it already is. But they're not. In the story of Dormitabis, Garvey is a pedophile. The victim inside of Chica was a victim of sexual assault. A period of time between the release of this game and the release of the allegations was spent working on a final patch for the game. A part of that patch featured a heavy rewrite. A part of that rewrite was removing this plot point in the game. Garvey was no longer going to be a sex offender. People like to use this tape as a way of saying this game was made to show Blackout's personal fantasies, as if they wrote their fetishes into the game. But if that was the case, why would a rewrite be in development after the game came out? With that being said, at the point in time the tape was recorded, Cake Bears was no longer a place. It's now Fredbear's Family Diner. Garvey caused the previous location to be shut down, and he's planning on doing the same again.
Oh my God, incredible! It took $5 to make a teen put his little brother into the mouth of the Fredbear suit. All the blood. It wonderful! The sound of the cracking skull made me chuckle quite a bit. Now, Fredbear's is definitely going down.
This tape explains the events of the Bite of 83 within this new universe. Garvey is not related to Michael Afton or his brother. Michael took $5 to mess with his brother in the same way he did in FNAF 4, leading to the Bite. This event, spun by Garvey Wright, led to the closing of Fredbear's Family Diner.
Today was my first big strike at Freddy's. I took 5 of the kids to the back room and that's all I had to really do. The doors of the back room is soundproof, so nobody heard them scream in pain as I cut them up with my knife. 3 years, and yet not caught. At this rate, they'll never find out that it's me.
This tape is our look into the missing children's incident. Fredbear's had closed by the time this was recorded. The location Garvey is currently at now is Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Because this game is not focused on the original story, this is only told to us through Garvey's own account. The kids that were killed during this incident go on to possess Freddy, Foxy, Molten Evil, and the Soul Cage.
I've been snooping around a little bit, and I've heard people complaining about the smell in that place. The staff has apparently not even noticed the corpses yet. This is great, really great. Soon they'll find them. 5 more out of the way. However, I think I might have a problem. I think that Fritz guy, I think he's onto something. He neatly investigated the parts and service room today. Thankfully, he didn't find them. He would have framed me. Needless to say, this might be a problem in the future.
This tape adds a bit more context to what was described in the previous recording, fully cementing this period of time as the missing children incident. This tape goes over a second mass killing spree by Garvey. The 5 children mentioned go on to become the BOA. Also introduced is the night guard, Fritz.
He found the bodies. I didn't have much of a choice, so I knocked him out. I didn't want to do this, but I can't have anyone interrupt my plans. All of John's friends are dead, so now just John himself is left. I knocked Fritz out and put him into the cake bear suit. They stupidly kept it in the back. I dumped him into the crawl space after putting him in the suit. If the moisture down there doesn't snap the locks, then the panic he will have when waking up surely will. It's just John left.
Garvey has killed Fritz. He goes on to become Am I Real? All of John's friends are dead. The night guard is dead. All that's left is John himself.
It's been 11 years since I've begun. And nobody suspected a thing. Until now. My brother bailed me out. He knows what I did. The police asked me about the murders today, and I think I might have made them suspicious. If I don't get rid of Peter, he's gonna get me locked up. I didn't want this to go as far as killing family. But do I really have a choice now? Sorry.
Garvey's actions have finally caught up to him. His brother knows what he did, and if he doesn't do something to stop him, he's going to get caught. He's gone from killing the people who made fun of him, to a suspicious night guard, to his own family.
That's it. He's dead. Except inside the yellow bear suit. But John's still alive. I don't know how long it will take me to find him, but I will. And he will not like what happens next.
Garvey's brother is dead. Peter is dead, stuffed inside Golden Freddy. Peter Wright is Golden Call. Night 10 of Dormitabis is a boss fight against Garvey, the purple guy, the man responsible for all of this, your brother. This fight is odd. I understand what they were going for, but I don't believe it works as well as it could have. All of the mechanics are sound-based, meaning a large part of the night is spent in one location listening for laughter and turning when required. That is a criticism that can be levied towards the main game, but there's other aspects that work in tandem with sound cues. Here, it's just sound, and like most mechanics in the game, the difficulty does not come from the gameplay, but from bugs. I'm not sure what causes it, but there's a chance that when staring at Garvey, that side of the office will remain pitch black for the rest of the night. It's not a death sentence because of everything being based on sound cues, but it does make it more difficult than it has to be. The fight is an interesting idea, but in practice the night is both too easy and extremely difficult. And what could only be described as an act of genius, a patch after the game came out added voice acting to the night, and it's as bad as you would expect. I understand what they were going for. The dialogue is written the same way Garvey is within the tapes, but that doesn't make it good. The voice acting in the tapes are bad enough as is. This takes away from the ambiance of this night, sitting in relative silence, listening out for laughter that sounds human but not quite. It makes you feel disgusted. This is a creature that used to act human. It never was human, but it was able to save face. Here, it's animalistic. It's violent. It doesn't need to pretend for people that already know what it is. But then voice acting is introduced.
But you'll be forgotten. You're nothing.
And suddenly, the night becomes a joke. Once you win, you don't go back to the main menu. You're still in the office. A heart lays on the desk in front of you. You can't look around. The computer is nowhere to be seen. But you can turn around. It seems as though all of this was for nothing. We didn't find a way out. We didn't find a way to leave purgatory. We were stuck here, and we died here by the hands of our own blood. This is the bad ending of Dormitabis. We played the game from start to finish, did not find the truth of our situation, and died by the monster that started this all. For most players, this is where they would stop. They made it to the credits, but we're not done. After you find all the tapes, there is another type of collectible left to grab. 2 identical keys. One is found on night 10, and the other is found on night 11, Nightmare Mode, the closest thing to a max mode Dormitabis has. This is single-handedly the buggiest part of the game. This night is broken and will fail on you. I'd imagine most players never got to see the ending of the game because of this night. It's mandatory, but how can you beat something you physically can't complete? And it's a shame, because I love the level of difficulty this night has. When it decides to work, it's very fun. At this point, you have the necessary skill level to complete the night. It doesn't feel like an impossible challenge that some max modes can be. It feels like the peak of your own personal journey. You've taken on every other challenge up to this point. This is all that's left. Use what you've learned and reach the end. Once the night ends, another cutscene begins to play.
You have come far. But it's not over. A last challenge for you to pass. Get the keys and enter it. Talk to you later.
We already have the keys. We should be able to finally beat the game. But what is that "it" the spirit was talking about? Well, if you want to beat this game, if you want to see it through to the end, you have to listen to every tape in the game. Learn Garvey's backstory. Learn more about the monster you are connected to by blood. And once it's all over, you get to experience it firsthand. The penultimate challenge of Dormitabis is the Cardboard Theater, a visual interpretation of every deplorable action Garvey has done. You have to physically reenact years of torment through puppetry. You've already heard what Garvey has done from his own mouth, but now you're seeing it through the lens of a child. Everything up to this point has been viewed through a veil of mud, but here it's clean. It's childish. A music box plays in the background as you see the victim's side of the torture. It's a wonderful juxtaposition from everything else you've already seen. However, this does not come without the cost of missed potential. Instead of this being a cutscene of some sort, you have to play it out. Every action. You're on a timer, and what you have to do is so convoluted and precise that, more times than not, you'll have to replay this game over and over again until you trial and error your way to the end. The emotional weight this sequence should have is covered up by monotony and annoyance. You're more so annoyed than impressed, despite how impressive this scene is. But if you manage to make it to the end, one last night has been unlocked. Night 12. The end of this nightmare. God damn it. Okay, so the last night of the game is not unlocked by default. We've done everything we have access to. In order to unlock the conclusion of the game, this is what you have to do. I got nothing to say. The finale of Dormitabis is Cake Bears, a look at the original location, the burial site of the puppet, and the origin of Am I Real suit. It's clean. It looks like an actual pizzeria. We may still be in purgatory, but this is different. This night is interesting in concept. You only have two things to monitor, with only cameras to protect yourself. It runs off a very small battery. You can't keep it up for more than a few seconds before it dies, and you have to wait for it to fully recharge. There's very little to keep track of, but you have to keep it going for 6 minutes with no mistakes. If you manage to complete the night, you'll find something interesting. It's the box from FNAF 4, the one we never got to open. the one that holds both all the secrets and nothing inside. This is why we needed the keys. They were the keys to the box. Inside the box are newspaper clippings, a literal paper trail of Garvey's actions. From beginning to his end, everything Garvey did was archived here. Once we finally see Garvey's actions as they are, not by the words of his own mouth, not perceived through the lens of a child's imagination, they can finally be set free. The children were still killed by Garvey. Nothing will ever take that pain away. But Garvey is dead. Someone else finally knows what he did. We know now what he did. There is proof of their misfortune, and now they can move on. Everyone can move on. And that marks the end of Dormitabis. Dormitabis is a game with many flaws, but it's one I hold close to my heart. It's not a good game by any stretch of the imagination, but it's still one I love. This was my first FNAF fan game. It was my first FNAF game in general. I'm not an unbiased party, and I'm not trying to pretend I am. The point of this video was not to get you to like Dormitabis. This was a video made to show why someone could like it, despite its history, despite public discussion, despite its reputation. Dormitabis could have been great. There are so many aspects to it I wish were changed for the better. I wish this game wasn't a first draft, but there's no use in pondering what could have been. And as it stands, I appreciate Dormitabis for what it is. There's also a remake I forgot about. The Dormitabis Remastered is odd. It's technically an improvement, but I wouldn't call it good, nor would I call it bad. It's this weird middle area where, depending on the person, this could be the best game ever made or a terrible game for terrible people. The gameplay and general idea is the same. The only difference are very specific aspects, which confuses me because those changes actively make the game worse. The graphical fidelity is technically better, but it loses the style that made Dormitabis unique. That clay dreamlike texture is nowhere to be seen. It's clean and sleek. It looks more like a standard FNAF fan game and less like Dormitabis. It's function over form, when the original game was diametrically opposed to this idea. Objectively, it looks better, and the average player would probably agree with that sentiment, but from someone who enjoys the original game, it doesn't feel the same. It's technically the same game, but it doesn't sit right with me. It feels like it's a game made for people that didn't like the original experience, when I feel like that's not what a remaster should be. A remaster should improve upon the original, but it should still be made for the original audience. I do not enjoy the gameplay in the remaster. I do not like it to such a degree that I'm not going to talk about it. I've already said why I like the original game. This part of the video would just be me reiterating everything I've already said, but again, and I don't want to do that. This video is already long enough as is. The reason why I wanted to bring this game up, the reason why this game is a part of the video, is due to the rewrite of the worst part of the original game. Garvey Wright. Garvey was rewritten to be an almost sympathetic vigilante type of character. Gratefully, what Garvey did with the 15-year-old was written out. The child still dies, but Garvey isn't a pedophile anymore. As I said before, I'm not a fan of that aspect of the story, but I understand what the game was trying to do. The issue is, instead of being a living monster, serving only himself, engaging with the most deplorable acts a human could do, he now kills because the kids caused the bite of 83, almost killing his brother John in the process. He's not evil, he's not a danger to society. You don't get the idea that he's doing this for his own pleasure, a main aspect of his original character, until it's retroactively said at the end of the tapes. Garvey objectively has a better motivation than what was in the original game, but in trying to fix Garvey, they made a new character. When it comes to Garvey, there's a scale in his writing. On one end is Hitler Epstein, on the other is Dexter Morgan if he was written worse. Neither of these are well written. One isn't Garvey, and the other one is, but isn't a good character. I feel as though a theoretical perfect Garvey Wright lies somewhere in between the two ideas. Make Garvey comically evil like the original game, but remove the pedophile aspect. Make him act out his murder for his own personal enjoyment, but the actual reason behind it is to fuel his own code. He genuinely believes what he's doing is right, snuffing out those who cause torment to people he considers close. He's still a killer, he's still a psychopath, he still enjoys the violence, but he does it with reason. Instead of making him Dexter Morgan if he was written worse, make him Dexter Morgan but specifically from the first 4 seasons of the show. I really like Dexter. It used to be good. Go watch it. It has the Grey's Anatomy effect where it stops getting good like halfway into it. I mean, with Grey's Anatomy, it's like 20 seasons long, but like, just watch the first 4. It's good. I like Grey's Anatomy. I had the taste of a wine mom, and I'm fine with it. I do not like Dormitabis Remastered at all. I feel like its gameplay, the one thing that made the original game so unique in my eyes, has been made worse to satisfy people that were never going to like the game. Objectively, it looks better. It runs better, but it doesn't play like the original. It's closer to a Return to Freddy's remake than it is Dormitabis. Garvey was written in an attempt to make a better character, but it doesn't feel like the same person, because that wasn't the goal. Garvey was rewritten as an apology for what the original character was.
And then there's Remastered. Remastered Garvey is an apology. I'll say it how it is. I don't blame the voice actor. I don't blame Sparky. Sparky wrote him as a extremely empathetic character and got mad on Twitter when people were simping for him. But like, you wrote him to be a twink. And SFD designed him to be a twink. That's just, you get what you get, you know? You wrote him like that. You know, just because on the last tape he like briefly states that like, oh, he did it for himself. Like, you still made him out to be a vigilante and too relatable, I guess. He's not really a sociopath or a killer. I mean, he is, but he's just not. Like, the whole thing was just an apology letter, and I don't blame Sparky for it. Once again, I don't blame him. He's trying to make up for all the blackout shit, trying to get his name in good graces. I don't fucking blame him.
There will never be a perfect Dormitabis. That's not possible, and I don't want there to be one. I think, in order to enjoy this game, you have to accept it as it is. You can't hope for a better version that's designed for you, because that better version won't play the same. Remakes will come out, remasters will be made, but none of them will be Dormitabis. They will be an attempt at making a better game. And that game won't be what you're hoping for.
I'm past the atmosphere, well on my way to Mars. Let me disappear somewhere higher than the moon. Climb aboard the rocket ship, pop a pill and take a trip. Don't you wanna play somewhere higher than the moon? Somewhere beyond the moon, so high, somewhere beyond the moon, so high, somewhere beyond the moon, so high. Goodbye. On the day I'm heaven bound, I ain't never coming down. I wanna stay faster than light, taking